And they're telling us that to our faces.
And we face structural challenges too, including those which have come from Brexit.
And she said that next to the governor of the Bank of England, who backed her up.
Now, I've said many times as a public official, I take no position on Brexit per se, and that's very important. But I do have to point out consequences. The changing trading relationship with the EU has weighed on the level of potential supply. But it underlines why we must be alert to and welcome opportunities to rebuild relations.
So Labour can't hide behind the idea that Brexit was a decision of the past, because it's hurting us now, every single day. All the experts say so, and the majority of the public agrees with the experts. So
not making a decision is a big decision.
On top of that, Labour says it will
pursue sustainable growth by encouraging investment in industry.
Do you know what might encourage investment in UK industries? Knowing that anything made in the UK was automatically legal to sell in all of its 30 closest neighbour countries. And won't have to be held up in queues in places like this with expensive paperwork eating into your profit margins and forcing everybody to raise prices. But for that, we need to be in the EU single market. Not the EU, let's be really clear on that, the EU single market. That's the system whereby countries, regardless of whether they're in the EU, agree to follow EU rules and allow free movement of workers between their countries so that their goods and services can be automatically sold within the EU without being checked at the border or needing extra paperwork or having to redo their qualifications, which would add time and cost to their supply chains. So when it comes to Brexit, it's specifically being outside of that system that's damaging our economy. That's not about whether we're in the EU itself or not, because that's about whether or not you have a seat at the table in deciding the rules of that system. That's why Brexit was always doomed to be a total disaster, because if you don't follow the rules of the EU, you get poorer. And if you do follow the rules of the EU, then all you achieve by leaving the EU is that you no longer have a say in shaping those rules. You have a loss of control, when the whole point of Brexit was
To take back control.
And when Rachel Reeves and the Bank of England talked about how
We will not be reversing Brexit or re-entering the single market or customs union.
they said it was about
Respecting that very important decision of the British people.
the implication is that we're staying outside of the EU single market because after the referendum in 2016, democracy demanded that. But let's get this 100% straight. There is absolutely zero democratic justification for us being outside of the EU single market. We weren't asked about it in 2016. We were asked about being in the EU, and countries like Norway and Switzerland are effectively in the single market without being in the EU. Not to mention, a board member of the official Vote Leave campaign, Daniel Hannan, said,
Absolutely nobody is talking about threatening our place in the single market.
And Labour knows that too, because when I put it to Emily Thornberry, Labour's Brexit committee chair, she had no response at all. Doesn't it therefore make sense that in order to afford the stuff that we need, according to the principles he